In this lesson, we're going to talk about financial applications, and if you have a T84 plus, there is no reason why you should lose any points in your paper 1 exams in financial applications. So, essentially, top it all off, financial applications is simply compound interest. And if you have the T84 calculator, it's actually made very simple. So, you have to go to your calculator, and you have to go to apps, then you go to finance, and then you go to TMV solver. And essentially, this is all you need to do your exercises. So essentially, N is the amount of payments that you have to actually make, and usually it can be actually quite misleading because sometimes it's said that you have 10 years. However, if you make the payments every month, then it's actually 120 payments, and the same with 5 years when you actually make 60 payments. However, you have to really understand how many payments do you actually make, and N is the number of payments made. Come on, I percentage. This is one of the easiest parts. It's just the interest rate, and it's usually given in your papers as well. PV, this is present value. This is something more difficult because present value can most times be negative. If you take out the loan and you start to pay it back, it is negative, for instance. And however, it still can be positive. If you want to get from $2,000 to $5,000, then it's positive. However, if you take out the loan, P value is negative. PMT is monthly payments, and this is also very important. You don't have to fill this slot in. Each of these slots don't have to be filled in, only the ones that you're given. And PMT is the monthly payment, and this can also be negative. For instance, if you have a very huge sum of money and you're taking money out, then the monthly payment is negative because you're taking money out. However, if PMT is positive, then you're of course putting money in. FV, that should be quite simple. This is the future value of your money. If I put, I don't know, $2,000 in, and it will be soon 5,000, then 5,000 is the future value. And this PY and CY, they are actually very important for getting accurate calculations as well. In your exercises, you're mostly given whether the interest is compounded monthly, annually, or quarterly. So basically, in these two slots, you put how much the interest is compounded. Monthly, that means that in a year the interest is compounded 12 times. Annually, it means that it's compounded 1 time, and quarterly means that it's compounded 4 times. So you can just choose whether it is. And PY and CY have to be the same always. And PMT is also very easy. Sometimes in your exercises it's given, as we already talked, that PMT is the monthly payment. Sometimes it's said that the monthly payment is done at the end of the month, at the end of the year, at the end of the quarter, or so on. So you put end. However, if in normal exercises, usually the payments are done in the beginning of the month, as you think how you pay rent, for instance, then you press it as beginning. And usually you don't even need to change this. So in 9 out of 10 cases, you don't need to even press end if you're dealing with monthly payments. So let's take a few examples as well. And I think this is one of the most easiest topics overall in the financial applications as well, because you're given all the data and everything you have to do is just play with your calculator and you will get the right answer. So let's go to an exam exercise as well. So Sophia takes out the loan for 50,000 euros. She pays a nominal interest of 4.2% per year, compounded monthly. For these type of exercises, what I really recommend to do is take one more pencil or pen to your test or exam, and every time you see something that is valuable, just highlight it with red. This actually brings out the valuable information that you can later on put into your calculator. So she takes a loan out for 50,000 euros, pays a nominal interest of 4.2% per year, and it's compounded monthly. And she must pay the loan back in 25 years through regular monthly payments made at the end of each month. And the first question is, find the amount Sophia has to pay back each month. Give your answer to correct the 2 decimal places. So this is one of the easiest ones. So as said, n has to be in months, so it's 25 times 12. Then the interest is also given, it's 4.2. So as I talked, when you take out the loan, your present value is also always in the negative, because think of having your purse and then you take out the loan of 50,000 euros, then you will obviously be in the negative and you have to go and pay that back. So our present value is minus 50,000. Our PMT is what we want to know. In future value, we want to be at 0, because if you start to think about it, taking loans, it's like having a $50,000 debt and you want to get that to $0 debt. I think that's the most rational way to think about this. Then it says that it's compounded monthly, meaning that in a year there are 12 compounds. And it said that the payments are done in the end of each month, so PMT has to be end. And then you go to the slot that you want to solve. In this case, we want to know the monthly payments. Find the amount Sophia has to pay back each month. Then we go to PMT, you press alpha, the only green button you have, and then enter. And it gives you the answer right away. And it said to round to 2 decimal places, and that's already done. So for B, it said that at the end of 8 years, Sophia wins the lottery and pays back the remainder of the loan early in a single payment. Find how much Sophia pays back in the single payment. So we know that at the end of her loan of 8 years, so it means that there were 8 years left to pay. So we understand that the payments needed to done were 8 times 12. Then we get 96, and now we calculate the future value of how much she had left to pay, and that is worth 39,243.29 euros. And then we go to EE, which asks that how much money did she save. So we can calculate, we know that total how much payment were needed to make were 25 years of every month payments times 269 times 47. So that goes roughly up to, so let's put the payment expected. Let's put expected, I think that's a good word. Equals 808.41. However, the payment that she actually made was 8 times 12 times 269.47, because it is still said that she paid for 8 years, and then at the 8th year he got and paid the rest, which was 39,242 and 29 cents. And then what we have to do is we have to take these and subtract it, and we can get the final answer of 841 minus 8 times 12 times 200, because it's the amount of payments that she made. And then we also have to minus the other payment that she made after winning the lottery, and you get your answer to be around 15,259. That's how much she saved. And to make the day a bit lighter, I think this is one of the hardest finance applications exercises of all years, because the question itself is very misleading, and if you don't understand this right away, I don't think you should stress and just look at other exercises, because mostly they just ask for part A to find the monthly payment or something like this. They don't ask you to find the payment expected, but you still have to be ready for this to actually calculate everything by your hand as well. And thank you.